Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our January 25th Planning Board meeting. We are happy to have you here tonight. If you'd like to speak or come before the board, we ask that you please complete a green form. You'll have a 3-minute time limit as you speak.
I don't have the roster.
Oh, the roster? Before the roster. And so, here it is. We have the roster coming. Sorry about that.
Late delivery on the roster, but
Again, you'll have if you'd like to speak again, fill out one of these green forms, and you'll have a 3-minute time limit. When you come up, please state your name and address for the record's sake. And again, we do appreciate you taking time to be with us at our planning board meeting. All right, may we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Mr. Barhu,
Present.
Mr. McLean,
here.
Mr. Newman, Mr. Robinson,
Present.
Mr. Servance,
President.
Mr. Weatherholtz,
Here.
and Ms. Washington, present. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Item number minutes approval. Everyone has received a copy of the minutes. May I have a motion?
Sir, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Okay, we have a motion properly second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Opposers have the same right. Carries. Ms. Washington, item number 4, please.
Certainly. Item number 4, Bayshore Tourist Accommodations, T1, and Tourist Office Retail, T4, rezoning DEV 2023-011, quasi-judicial hearing.
May we hear from staff, please?
Thank you, Dennis Mrozek, Planning Director with the city. I'll go ahead and take this item. This item is a request by Glenn Storch, Storch Law Firm, on behalf of the property owner, who is John Ott, 801-905 South Atlantic LP, to rezone 7.8 plus or minus acres of a single parcel of land that's located on the east side of Atlantic Avenue and approximately 750 feet north of Silver Beach Avenue from planned development redevelopment, PDRD, to tourist accommodations, T1. And then there's 4 parcels totaling 1.1 acres of land on the west side of Atlantic Avenue to be rezoned from PDRD to tourist office retail, T4. There's the general location of the properties for you. You see the large property that's on the east side of Atlantic Avenue, and then the 4 smaller properties on the west side. All of the properties are vacant, undeveloped. They were intended to be developed as a hotel, as a resort. I'll get to that in a little bit, but they are currently undeveloped. The land use of the property, you have tourist accommodation on the east side along the ocean, which is consistent with the tourist accommodation to the north and south of the property. On the other side, the 4 parcels, those have a land use of retail, again consistent with the land use designations for the properties that are adjacent to them. And as far as the zoning, you'll see that on the left-hand side is the current zoning of the PDRD for all of the parcels. The proposed zoning on the right-hand side, you'll see the T1 in the large piece of property, consistent with the T1 zoning along the north and south of the property. And then on the west side, you see the T4. That T4 zoning that they're proposing is also consistent with the zoning of the property that's surrounding them. So a little summary for you. This original PD, it was the Bayshore PD, and it was approved in 2014 by the City Commission. The original intent was this to be a Hard Rock hotel, a resort hotel, which never did occur. The Hard Rock eventually was developed in the former Desert Inn property just a little bit further north of this property. The PD agreement has expired. All development rights associated with the PD agreement have lapsed. The request would be to rezone the properties back to the straight zoning. This is the zoning that it was previously before the PDRD zoning was placed on there. So they're looking to do the zoning to the T1 and to the T4 consistent with the comprehensive plan and the surrounding land zoning categories. The property, the zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan. It is compatible with the surrounding zoning designation. It does comply with the redevelopment master plan. And also, the Beachside Redevelopment Board has heard this item, and they did recommend approval 4-0, and that occurred last month. So as far as a recommendation, staff supports the Beachside Redevelopment Board's recommendation for approval and recommends the planning board approval of the request to rezone 7.8 acres of a single parcel on the land east of Atlantic Avenue from PDRD to T1, and the 4 parcels totaling 1.1 acres of land on the west side of Atlantic from PDRD to T4. A majority vote of the planning board members present and voting is required to recommend approval to the city commission. The item is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the city commission for first reading on March 6th and for second reading on March 20th, 2024. And that does conclude staff's presentation.
Okay, questions for staff?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. McLean?
You have a question?
I'll be quick, Mr. Robinson. Dennis, just a comment. Just pleased to see on permitted use and also on the special use telecommunications towers. I realize east of A1A may not be the ideal place to put one, but I appreciate the fact that it's being thought about and giving at least our applicants an option. So I just wanted to
Yeah,
say
and,
that
and
publicly.
with the telecommunication towers, sometimes they'll co-locate on some of the buildings, so they can be kind of hidden with the buildings as well, so.
Very good. Thank
Okay,
you.
Mr. Robinson?
Mr. Dennis,
Yes.
I don't know if it's for you or for the applicant. How close is this to the Silver Beach project that we had such a major
Well, this,
discussion on?
Yeah, as I noted, this property is approximately 750 feet north of Silver Beach Avenue, and the Silver Beach development was right at Silver Beach, just south of Silver Beach on the beach side, so.
Oh, okay. So is this like a prelude for us to look for the next step of hotels?
Well, it's
parking
possible.
lots?
Yeah, it's possible, but with the straight zoning, if anything does come in to get developed with that type of zoning on there, they would be required to meet all of the code requirements that are in the land development code. There are no modifications that they could ask for, and in all of the uses that they would be permitted are only the uses that are permitted within the zoning district that they're asking for.
So with the T1 and T4, they could be looking at a hotel that was,
Yeah, probably, yeah. The T1 really encourages that type of a use, the kind of the larger scale hotel, something that would be appropriate for the site. In this case, they would have to meet all code requirements that we have established for setbacks. And you know, in the T1, you've got that sliding setback scale where the higher you go, the greater the setbacks. They would have to comply with that.
oh, okay. So we could be looking at the Silver Beach project and this project coming in at the same time in the same neighborhood?
It'd be nice, yeah. It's a potential that could happen, yeah. Yeah, to see that kind of activity, sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we can expect a lot of discussion from the neighborhoods. That-
There was a neighborhood meeting on this, and the information is in your packet. And I didn't go through exactly to see the neighborhood meeting because it was taken on by the redevelopment folks.
Right.
But I don't believe there were many objections to the request to have the T1 and the T4 zoning.
I was just a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Curious as to how we had a lot of discussion on the Silver Beach project, but not on this designation.
Well, the silver, yeah, and yeah, Glenn is chomping at the bit there, but
Okay.
the Silver Beach
Down,
project, they
down.
were asking for, it was a PD rezoning they were going through, and they were asking for some modifications, or at least one modification to the code that impacted how the site was going to be developed. This particular site, if it were to be developed under the zoning district, would have to meet all code requirements,
Okay, so they can still go high.
whatever the code would allow them to do.
Okay, then. Thank you, Mr. Dennis.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Now, may we hear from applicant, please? Oh, I guess that's maybe number 4.
First of all, for the record, my name is Glenn Storch, and I represent the applicant in this case. And I want to address Mr. Robinson's questions, first of all. We have no plans, okay? No plans whatsoever. In fact, that was the issue at the neighborhood meeting. They wanted to make sure, you know, what's going on? What are you doing with this? What we found, of course, is that oftentimes when you do a PD, like this and nothing happens because of economics or whatever else case, it automatically reverts back to the existing zoning. In this case, it didn't. So all it did was expire, and so we had a big piece of land on Daytona Beach with a lot of potential tax revenues that had no use whatsoever.
No financial use.
No, they couldn't do anything with it.
Well, the view was great.
Yes, you
I-
finished
Visual use.
I lament the loss of
Yeah,
view.
the point is they couldn't build anything on it.
Okay.
They couldn't sell it, they couldn't build anything on it because it had no entitlements. So what zoning is entitlement. And so we worked with the city and said, look, this didn't go back to the original zoning. And they looked at it as well and they said, well, this is an appropriate zoning. And so the appropriate zoning is T1, which is the same thing as everything out through there, and the T4, which is the same thing as everything along that one side. And so that's what we thought we'd make the application to request that it go back to the T1. Now, when we come back at some point, if we either decide to build on this property based on that T1 zoning, or we sell it based on the T1 zoning, they get another crack at it because of the size of the property? Do they get a look at the site plan review?
Depends on how big.
Yeah.
Yeah, depending on how big the building is, if it's over, well, this board won't, but if it's over 20,000 square feet, it goes to the redevelopment board for review because it's in a redevelopment area.
So, but right now, the important thing is there's no plans whatsoever. We're just entitling the property into the previous zoning, which will allow this to actually have a value that will allow something to be done with it. Because otherwise it becomes, useless, other than a great view. Okay, does that help at all? And again, but that's where we are. The applicant is here. You can ask him the same thing. He'll tell you, we have no plans. Okay,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
sure.
On the west side of the street there, with the lots there, are they vacant?
I think most of them are vacant. We used to have an old buildings on some of them. We tore those buildings down because they were in bad shape.
Yes.
So they're all vacant,
Okay.
if I understand correctly. Is that correct? Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a quick one. Did you mention, Glenn, that the applicant's here? Mr. Ott is here?
Yes,
Could I ask him a question? or
Sure.
two? Would you mind, sir?
come on up.
Please. Please, name and address, if you would, please.
John Ott, Bayshore Capital.
Give me a little idea of your background, John. How long have you been involved in this area, and what have you done in that time?
I've been working with Bayshore Capital for 9 years. I started working on the Hard Rock project that we were going to develop, and as Glenn said, due to economics, that didn't move forward, but we were smart enough. We knew a boss, and we introduced the boss to the flag, and we were actually the ones that suggested he do a Hard Rock instead of a Weston.
Okay.
So I've been here, but I've been in development for 40 years. I ran the hotel development of Disney in the 80s, and I was a corporate vice president of Hard Rock thousands.
So it sounds like you have some direct background here
Oh, yeah.
in the Volusia County
I
area.
should point out that he has also just finished development of the
Oh,
new Daytona
I
Max.
was a
thank
project
you.
executive on the Max Daytona and Daytona Beach Shores.
All right, thank you, sir. One last question for you.
Spectacular.
You guys have talked about that there's no plans for development now. My question is then, why make these changes now? And my only thought might be that there may be a potential for a sale. Could you tell us, at least at this point, that's
What
not
Glenn
the case?
explained to us there, when the PD expired, we have no entitlements. It's in limbo.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really an administrative process that we have to do to place the entitlement and to get it to its original zoning, which is what it was before we did.
So it would be fair to say that you haven't got far enough to decide what, if anything, you're going to do with the land, or potentially,
Like
as
every
Mr.
other
Storch said,
develop-
to sell it.
Yes, like every other developer in town, we're studying the economics, what use might be, is it apartments, hotels, condos? Construction costs are high, and sales prices are such that the economics of a condominium are really difficult. Hotels are usually the best use and work more economically, but, this is a large piece of land, and right now, we want to get our sea legs under our belt with getting the max stabilized, so we don't have plans to develop this.
Okay, well, my potential concern would be, obviously you have background in the area and have made a name for yourself here, but potentially if there was a sale in place to someone from outside that we don't know, that doesn't have the background, and we're hoping things will work out, that may be a different set of circumstances. That's why I'm asking.
But I don't think you should have a
Let me answer
concern.
that.
The beauty of this zoning is that they have to come back to the planning board and everybody and get full approval. So there's
Understood.
no, I mean, it literally is whatever the Muni code is would be their requirement, so.
Exactly. And they have to meet the standards that we have for T1, which everyone else has had to meet.
So really,
We're not asking for anything special.
No.
No variances.
when we had the PD, we did have some
Didn't want to encourage
variances, we
you.
had some setback, and so we're really giving those up. That project just didn't work. I wish it had. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But, so any of the variances that we negotiated as a part of that development order go away, and whoever would develop it, us or otherwise, really starts from scratch with all the requirements of setbacks.
Except they have entitlements to actually build something.
Yes.
As opposed to nothing
No more
before
than-
talking
Right.
about here.
Because we have no entitlements right now.
Okay, that answers it. I appreciate it, John.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have anyone else.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this item? Don't have any other green forms? May I have a motion, please?
Yes, sir. Move approval of agenda item number 4, rezoning from PDRD to T1 and T4, DV 2023-011, Bayshore Plan Development / redevelopment.
Okay, we have a motion properly second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed have the same right. It carries. Thank you so much and appreciate you. Ms. Washington, item number 5, please.
Certainly. Item number 5, 600 North Clyde Morris, Business Professional BP rezoning, DEV 2013-401, quasi judicial hearing.
May we hear from staff, please?
If I may, before Melissa gets started, I want to introduce our newest senior planner with the city of Daytona Beach. Her name is Melissa McCready. She's got a lot of
Welcome.
experience around the state, around the country. We're very happy to have her here, and we're very excited for the things she's going to be bringing to the city. So, Melissa McCready.
All right, Welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you. Melissa McCready, Planning Department. I am here to present this item to you. This is a project request by the Joseph Posey on behalf of Norman and Valerie Hoffman, the property owner, to rezone 0.39 acres of land located at 600 North Clyde Morris Boulevard from the residential professional RP zoning to the business professional BP zoning district to allow for medical office use. The site is located at the southwest quadrant of Clyde Morris Boulevard and the Florida Street intersection. It's currently a vacant office building. The current zoning is residential professional, and the proposed zoning is business professional. And in the last year, there was a rezoning just to the north of this property for the same zoning. The reason for the rezoning is to include a medical office use to be allowed. And staff is recommending approval of this rezoning amendment. And the majority of vote by the planning board members present and voting is required to recommend approval to the city commission. The item is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the city commission for first reading on March 6th, 2024, and for second reading on March 20th, 2024.
Thank you. May we hear questions for staff? Mr. Robinson?
Welcome on board. Nice to have you. I have a question. Would there be any kind of buffer from the residents near the residential area on Florida Street in that neighborhood?
This is just a straight rezoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a straight rezoning. If a use were to come in, or that would have had a requirement for an additional buffer, it's a little constrained because it's an existing site, so they would have to the greatest extent possible, perhaps include additional landscaping and buffering if that were possible, but because it is an existing site, that can be difficult to do at times. I did want to point one thing out. Our old land development code with the RP zoning used to permit a medical office use. When we changed our zoning back in 2015, we kind of split those uses up, and the medical office kind of went into the BP zoning district. So where this office used to be able to have a medical office, when we changed the code, it kind of took that away. So they want to go back. They knew that they had a medical office previously, it was designed for a medical office. They've come forward, wanted to do another medical office over there use. And so to do that, they had to go to a zoning district that would have permitted it. In this case, it was the BP.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? None? Thank you very much.
And thank you, Melissa. Daytona is very lucky to get a planner now because there's such a premium on good planners. So congratulations, Dennis. So, first of all, let me answer Mr. Robinson's questions again. So first of all, a medical office building is typically a great co-location with residents. You have set hours, they're not late, they usually get out by 5 or so. So this has no impacts whatsoever. Plus, it's an existing office building, so you'll probably have less intensity when you're dealing with that office for the residences than anything else. But the important thing is, if you'll look at the area, this area is so appropriate for medical offices. You have Health Boulevard right there with all those medical offices. You have the hospital. You have Florida Healthcare. I mean, everything is geared toward medical offices at this point. And so it's a great location right on Clyde Morris. And so the fact that it's an office now, we're just basically adding the use is really all we're doing, is why we've asked for this. And my understanding is it's going to be a psychologist's office, so that's even nicer. So.
Thank you very much.
Quick question,
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Chairman, you don't mind? Mr. Storch, tell me a little bit about the Hoffmans. What should we know about them?
I don't know. They're the owners.
Okay, that's all we don't.
And I have to tell you, part of the problem.
A little
is,
more
I mean,
detail there.
I can tell you all about the planning. I can tell you about good planning, and I can tell you why this is good planning, and of course, the staff agrees to it. Unfortunately, Joey Posey, who's my partner, is at another event.
Okay, you're carrying the ball
And
for
so
him.
I'm filling in. But so he knows them, I don't.
Can't tell me what you don't know. Thank
I'm
you.
sure they're very nice.
I can actually help, I can help you out
Oh,
with
thank you.
that. They are local, they're local to the area, they live in Ormond Beach.
That's what I wanted to do. Thank you.
Thanks. She is good.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this item? Don't have any more green forms? May I have a motion, please?
Yes, sir. Move approval of agenda item number 5, rezoning residential professional to business professional, 600 Clyde Morris Boulevard, DB 2023-401.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion properly second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, have the same right. It carries. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. What is item number 6, please?
Certainly. Item number 6. West Mason Commercial Park Planned Development, GE Planned Development General, PDG, rezoning DEV 2022-158, quasi judicial hearing.
May we hear from staff, please?
Good evening, Doug Gutierrez, Planning Manager. Unfortunately, Hannah would be doing this, but she's been ill all week, so you have me. Okay, this project request by Joseph Hopkins from the Performance Group on behalf of West Mason Commercial Condominium, and Thoroughbred Classics LLC and New World Professional Investments LLC. To rezone 3.9 acres from M3 to PDG to allow to expand the existing development, allowing additional uses, upgrade a non-conforming site, features within the property. This is site location. The address is at 1640 Mason Avenue. It's on the north side of Mason, 1,500 feet west of Clyde Morris Boulevard and the Mason Avenue intersection. As you can see, it has 2 buildings on it already. The future land use is retail. And the proposed zoning is PDG from M3. Development of the site occurred in 1963 for the first building and 1985 for the second building. This was prior to the current LDC regulations, which were adopted in 2015. Project description, rezoning requested to construct a new 10,000 square foot building, which would be Unit 3, allow additional uses, upgrade the parking and landscaping to the greatest extent practical. This is already a developed site, so there are going to be some constrictions. So every upgrade is going to be as best as they can practicable. It's on Mason Avenue, which is a scenic thoroughfare overlay, which typically requires a 50-foot landscape. And we'll go, they'll try to get to that point, but not quite. They're going to install a type D buffer that's abutting the multifamily. They're going to add interior parking, lot landscaping, and additional parking, and install individual water meters and services. As you can see from not really a site plan, but the proposal showing the two existing buildings and then the building 3 next to building 2. And then bottom is the photo of the existing commercial development. So the architecture is to remain as developed. Parking is going to be increased from 72% to 88% of the minimum required. Drive aisles, it's going to allow a two-way drive aisle to remain 19.5 feet, which typically would be 24 feet. But again, we have that restriction since it's already developed. Stacking for parking lot entrance will allow stacking distance to remain at 25 feet in depth, which typically would be 50 feet. Again, restricted development. Signage, they will retain the pole and wall sign, which is compliant with the Land Development Code. The uses, to waive the 500 separation between a warehouse storage and distribution use and residential use zoning district. It's already there. It could not meet that 500-foot setback requirement. These are the existing signs. So the modifications, interior parking lot will allow 5.3% of the vehicle use area. We normally would want 10, but the existing was like 0.6. So it's definitely an increase. The eastern property perimeter will retain the vegetation within the existing 1 to 3 foot landscape strip. Typically, we would want a 3 foot. Again, that's an existing condition. The west type D buffered will retain vegetation in the existing 14 to 20 foot landscape strip, which I believe is normally 30 feet. The Mason STO landscape yard will allow an average depth of 30 feet and plantings consistent with a 30, 40-foot STO district landscape yard is reduced from 50 foot, the required STO. Again, it's restricted. For tree preservation, they will allow tree canopy coverage at 11% of the overall site area, which is less than the 15% required, again, due to restraints. Provided all the LDC modifications are accepted, staff recommends approval to rezone a 3.9 acre property from M3 to PDG, allow for the expansion of the existing development, accommodate additional permitted uses, upgrade existing non-conforming sites within the property. A majority vote by the planning board members, present voting is required to recommend approval of the commission. And the item is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the city commission, first reading on March 6th, my wife's birthday, and second reading, public hearing on March 20th. And that concludes my presentation.
Questions for staff?
Couple quick ones, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind. Hey, Doug.
Hey.
On the perimeter buffers, I just want to make sure I understand why this is an LDC modification. It's because that west side doesn't meet the requirements. It's 14 to 20. LDC is typically 30 for a type D.
Correct.
Do I have that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And on the aisle width and the stacking distance, the reason we can't deal with that because the restricted lot, there it is what it is.
Currently existing, and you can't modify.
Okay,
With
good enough.
the,
And on the parking, it wouldn't be me if I didn't ask about parking. The count that we have right now, 72% of what's required LDC, moving it to 88, that's all fine and good. I don't know how many spaces we're talking about. Do we have any, and I may have missed it in the staff report, but.
It might be in the staff report, to
Okay.
tell you the truth. No. Yeah, Joe, no.
Okay. I asked the wrong guy, Joe, sorry. With that, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, so let's hear from the applicant.
It's a good pinch hitter right here. This, it doesn't really, for the record, my name is Joe Hopkins. I'm an engineer with the Performance Group at 100 Marina Point Drive here in Daytona. Thank you, Doug. It doesn't really show the complexity of what we've gone through to get where we are today, and just want to step back a little bit and embellish a little bit on what we've done and why we're here before you. The property was zoned M3 in a retail land use, which was inconsistent. So when we first came to staff to try to develop the 10,000 square foot, we saw that inconsistency. We first sponsored an amendment, a comp plan amendment, to change it to general industry. Dennis and I reviewed it in detail, and it would have been a spot land use in a retail corridor. So that was inconsistent. The other thing we did is looked at the M1 zoning district and the M1 zoning uses, which is consistent with the retail land use. So when we added those uses in the development agreement, most of those that you see, in addition to what is already existing on the property, are M1 uses. And let me explain the ownership just a little bit. This is a land condominium. Unit 1, Unit 2, and Unit 3 are individually owned. The parking lot is common area. That condominium was created a long time ago, and the Unit 1 dates back to GE. When GE was recruiting people, this was a Fairwinds storage and moving facility that accommodated all the movement of those people. I think Unit 2 was constructed to complement that as well. And Unit 3, just an urban infill site, it's never been developed, and we're ready to do that now. Regarding the nonconformities, we painstakingly combed through the code. And what staff directed us to do is to prepare a development agreement that would memorialize all the nonconformities. And we went through painstakingly and looked at what we can do to improve, increase the parking, increase the landscaping, improve traffic circulation. Right now, it's wide open. It was designed for 18-wheelers. And Unit 1 is a cleaning supply company. They don't receive clients. They have warehousing, and their distribution is a network of vehicles that go out of there. Not a very high demand on parking, and definitely no customer service coming into the building. Unit 2 is run by DME, their visual printing component. Again, they've got 10 people at the most working out of that warehouse at any given time. In Unit 3, we're proposing a passive warehouse use, no outdoor display. We can't because of the parking. And you might note in the staff report and also in the PUD agreement, PD agreement, that we have an asterisk that says none of these activities, boat sales, boat repair, things of that sort, can occur outside of the building. They have to occur inside. So when you see that, we know what we're getting into. And, just for example, there is a significant demand for boat facilities to do retrofitting on electronics and things of that sort. So we're not a duck out of water. We think that there may be a demand for some type of use in that category. So you see a couple of marine uses in there. But ultimately, I think it's just going to be some type of a passive warehouse use. As Doug mentioned, we've done what we could to try to get the site in conformity with regard to architectural standards. We built some provisions in the development agreement that says if there's substantial damage to any of the structures, then they would have to be redeveloped according to the current code, which would include the architectural standards. So that's built into the agreement. If there's a radical change, something's demolished, it's got to come back and conform to the code. Unit 2 and Unit 3 are 450 and 650 feet off of Mason Avenue. So we didn't feel that they were close enough for visual, for the Mason Avenue corridor to have those architectural standards. We're 2 football fields away. And same goes for the signage. We did ask for an additional awning sign, not an awning sign, but a cantilevered sign, and that's really for wayfinding for Unit 2 and Unit 3. When people come into the building, as they venture to the north, they'll at least see a 36 by 36 foot square cantilevered sign that will give them a point of destination. So that was a ask that we do have for one additional sign. And everything else that you see in here with regard to the increase in parking, the increase in landscaping, those were all done to try to bring the site into better compliance with the current land development code. And your question, Mr. McLean, was regarding parking. The site currently has 87. We're proposing with these configurations and improvements to have 94 stalls, which is 12 stalls short of the code requirement.
And there's no way to fit another 12 in there in your view, Joe?
No, sir.
Okay.
There's not. And we just reach a point where if we try to bring it in more compliance, we create more nonconformity. And parking is one of those things. The buffering, perimeter buffering, if we start to wedge off paving, we're going to create more reduced travel lanes and more nonconformity all the way around. And the one issue, the 50-foot stacking distance, I've been to the property multiple times. We really don't have a bunch of vehicle movement. This is really a quiet, passive park. But the 19.5-foot travel width occurs only in one spot on the site. And if you look down there in the front on the entry coming off, on the east entry coming off of Mason Avenue, the site, it says 19.5 adjacent to that handicap stall. That's the only spot that we actually fall deficient in meeting the 24-foot minimum drive aisle width. Everything else on the site is conforming. So from a public safety standpoint, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The site's not all non-conforming, just little bits and pieces here and there.
I appreciate that, Joe. I missed that. That makes a difference to me. Let me just ask you a couple of things, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind. You mentioned about the three entities that own the three buildings here. I assume they're all local and have had the experience doing business here in Daytona Beach?
Yes, they are. The Thoroughbred Classics is somewhat new to the area, a few years now. But they have been in acquisition mode with other properties that will be coming or have come before you. And they're investing into the community very, very strongly.
Okay, very good. And on uses, our LDC talks about a minimum separation of 500 feet between warehouse storage and a residential district. You know that. You're waiving that. My question is, and I don't have necessarily a big problem with that, but how close is your expansion going to get to this residential area? If we eliminate the 500 and call it whatever you'd like to do, and you make those expansions, how close are we going to get to a residential neighbor, is my question.
72 feet.
Okay.
72 feet. And I went back, I figured this could come up, and I respect you for asking it. When this property was developed in 1963, there wasn't a neighbor. There were no neighbors. The contractor storage yard, which is immediately east, there's a medical office right off of Mason Avenue, which is our east neighbor, but behind that medical office is a contractor storage yard. That was the second thing that was developed in this neighborhood, and that was 1969. The medical office was constructed in 1992, and the multifamily 55-year-old restricted apartment was 2008. So we were there first, but that's just a little chronology of how this area developed over time.
Mr. Chair? Yeah. On the building, number 3, how deep is it going to be?
It's 125 by 80, 80 feet wide by 125 deep.
So, and, it appears that you're going to have high doors, 12, 14-foot doors in it.
That's correct.
Do you think that this is going to be more storage than business?
There's a public demand for both right now, a community demand for both. And the way we have it set up is we have the parking allocation for 1,000 square feet of office and the remaining 9,000 square feet for warehouse, storage, distribution, things of that sort. But the other uses are we say what their parking requirements are, but they're nowhere near the demand. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I was just wondering whether you were edging towards storage or, an actual, say, for instance, a boat, boat repair.
Well, if I could,
I think if that's,
no, we want the flexibility. We don't have a specific end user yet. The occupant, or the tenant in Unit 2 has expressed an interest, which is an extension of the visual for printing and things of that sort.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Robertson.
Mr. Hopkins, I like the fact that you're gonna improve the scenic thoroughfare overlay,
Yes, sir.
because, Mason Avenue is an alternative to ISB, especially when you're coming from the airport and coming from the Speedway. And I hope that your improvements will somehow motivate the rest of Mason Avenue merchants along that drive to improve the scenic highway, because a lot of folks travel that road. So I'm
Yes,
looking
sir.
forward to your improvements and
That was very very important to staff as well.
yes, yes.
Very important.
I travel that road a lot,
Yes, sir.
and it's good to see an improvement,
Thank you.
and I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I wrote on my card, it was item 7.
I saw that.
Okay, thank you.
Got you, corrected. Thank you so much. Okay, no more questions?
No, thank you,
Is
Joe.
there anyone else that'd like to speak for or against this item? If not, may I have a motion, please?
Yes, sir. Provided all LDC modifications are accepted, move approval of agenda item number 6, Plan Development General Rezoning, DV 2022-158, West Mason Commercial Park PD.
A second.
It's been motion properly second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. Carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, have a wonderful evening.
Have a good evening.
Item number 7, please.
Item number 7, Live Local Act, Land Development Code Text Amendment, DEV 2023-196, legislative hearing.
Can we hear from staff, please?
Doug Gutierrez, Planning Manager. This is a request by Growth Management and Planning to amend Article 6, Section 6.22G, Affordable Housing of the Land Development Code to add implementation of Live Local Act, which is Senate Bill 102, that was passed in 2023. So it's a state requirement. It's going to go over eligibility criteria, procedures, and standards. This item was a follow-up to recent City Commission discussion, and it's intended to provide clarity and fill in the gaps of the Live Local Act. This item is being proposed as follows. Oh, I've already said that. The implementation, these are all new. So the implementation of Live Local Act, following provisions are an implementation of the act for the purpose of implementing certain zoning-related provisions with respect to multifamily and mixed use. Residential affordable housing is going to be further described. And here's the eligibility criteria. The development rights will apply to only properties zoned in commercial, industrial, mixed use. But it will be exempt from or excluded from eligibility if it's in PD redevelopment, unless the PD or the PD redevelopment has specific provides for that. And properties zoned for or used primarily as a golf course. And the addition or the update in red gets in a little more detail on, what is a golf course, the driving range, and the putting greens and practice areas also will be excluded from that. The B was basically the rights, providing verification documentation. In other words, they have to show their eligibility. And known as the LURA, which is the Land Use Restriction Agreement. And they have, it's a 40-year document, naming the city as a party. And they'd have to have proof of the recording of the LURA in the public records and provided to the city and as a prerequisite for the building permits. And C, except for the height and density, all the projects have to meet land development code, flood zone, compensating storage, stormwater, anything every other development has to go through. They have to meet all those requirements. And then the last part of it is basically have to, under construction, show a sign that references this is part of the Live Local Act, affordable housing. I believe that's a state requirement. Anyway, based on staff's analysis and review, approval of the requested text amendments concerning Live Local Act 6.22 is recommended. Majority vote, planning board members, present voting is required. It's recommended approval of the City Commission. I believe this is going to be in the February 21st City Commission for first reading. And that concludes the presentation.
Questions from staff?
Quick one, Mr. Chairman, if I might. Good job, Doug. And I'm not sure whether to call it live or live either, but I've done both, and nobody seems to be correcting me, so hey.
I believe it is the Live Local Act. Yes.
Live sounds more.
Live, it's dealing with affordable housing, so it's.
I suppose it would be live local as opposed to, is it live or is it Memorex, I guess. Okay, my question is on the properties excluded from eligibility, and it has the list of the golf course definition, including driving range and practice greens and all those good things. What about and this may be a Dennis question as well, the actual clubhouse / restaurant that many a golf course has as part of what their inventory of items are? I'm curious where that fits, if we know at this point.
That's a good question. We had intended to write this so the golf courses was going to be anything that was associated with the golf course. So if the clubhouse was associated with the golf course, it would be considered part of the golf course and wouldn't be eligible in this case.
And Dennis, I might suggest just to perhaps we specify that.
Beef that up a little bit.
If we're specifying a golf practice area, I think we should specify a clubhouse / restaurant.
Yeah.
I think that's something that when people think of golf courses, that is something that's probably in a lot of cases top of mind. So I appreciate it.
I would assume maybe like maintenance facilities, maintenance buildings as well then, that are associated with the golf
Something I hadn't
courses.
thought of that.
If
And
that-
sometimes they'll be included in that same area, but sometimes I'm thinking LPGA, I think they're separate, just using your example, and it's a good one.
Well, David is a genius at writing this stuff. I'll take some notes and he will put the corrections in there
You'll do the
that'll
legal magic.
advance
Attaboy, David.
to the city commission. So I would just suggest when there is a nomination or a recommendation, that includes the language.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Weatherhouse?
But this is basically just focused on affordable housing. Make a long story short.
Yes, and in response to the Live Local Act that came forward from the state. And it really just, the Live Local Act had a couple of questions, and there was some uncertainty, and this just clears it up for how we're going to be reviewing it and processing it.
Yeah, the Live Local Act provides broadly for administrative approval of certain projects that meet certain affordable housing criteria, but there's some gaps in the language of the legislation, and so the idea behind this amendment is simply to implement the Live Local Act locally, provide for some procedures on how staff's going to review these projects, and provide some clarity on areas that, in the opinion of the City Commission, would not be applicable areas that could qualify.
Focus for this, because it just didn't come up. Is there a focus area for this particular change?
No particular area in the city, if that's what you're referring to. Yeah, no.
Because when something like this, a change like this, and, towards affordable housing, and, a lot of people have the misconception of what affordable housing is. And, certain wage scale is probably the easiest way to describe it, but that's not affordable housing. No matter how you know, somebody that's making $30,000 is not gonna be able to, qualify for too much. So this lessens the criteria or makes it easier for the city to,
Well, what's considered affordable is defined by the statute. That's part of what the Live Local Act's just designed to make it easier for a developer to develop a project that meets the criteria, that has a certain portion of the property dedicated to affordable housing as that's defined by the legislature.
well, does it have a definition, you know, affordable housing? If I'm gonna build an apartment building and I'm saying that I'm gonna have 20% of the affordable housing, is there a time limit that'll be attached to it, 30 years?
That's all dictated by the statute. So,
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
On the review standards, this is probably more a typographical thing, but under review standards on Article G, would result in significantly adverse impacts on the natural environment. Does that read correctly?
The question is, would this, if it were to be approved, would result in significantly adverse impacts on the natural environment? And the staff's response is, staff does not anticipate any environmental impacts of the proposed. So
The standard is that it would? I don't
It's-
understand that.
the,
The wording is odd to me.
that's
well, it's
our.
whether it would, I
Yeah.
think is what it's intended by the.
This is our land development code standards, that's in there, and then we take that. If it's a little kind of wonky in the language, we'll take a look at that and
Yeah,
clean that
the
up to make
standard
sure
would be
it's,
that it would not impact them adversely. It's weird that it says it would. And, it's just, maybe we need to look at that in the land development code. It's hard.
in a,
'Cause if that's the standard,
more of
then
a-
anything that affects adversely would meet the standard. I'm sorry, that just kind of.
We'll take a look at it.
It says that, I don't know, it doesn't make sense.
we will look at it.
Okay. Any other questions?
I was just confused about the live and the live. And I was like, why would they want to have a live or live? But now you're saying it's
Live, look.
Live, love, life. It's live. which
It's
makes
live.
sense
It's
when
live.
you
Okay.
really think about it. that
okay
makes
then. Thank you.
Any other questions? I don't have any green forms. Is there anyone that would like to speak for or against this item?
Not many people left.
All right, let's have a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, with the revision of the adding to the properties excluded from eligibility, add to that the golf clubhouses, restaurants, and maintenance buildings. Move agenda item number 7, Land Development Code Text Amendment, DEV 2023-577, LDC Text Amendment, Live Local Act.
I second.
Okay. It's been motion properly second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers have the same right. It carries. Thank you very much. Item number 8, other business, downtown Baloo Road redevelopment area board report.
Meeting was canceled this month.
Okay. Midtown redevelopment area board report.
Our meeting was canceled due to bad weather.
Oh, boy,
Right.
no surprise.
Beachside redevelopment area board report.
Nothing to report.
Nothing.
Something.
Affordable housing.
No
advisory
meeting. Next
committee.
meeting is the 21st of February, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Public comments.
Wow.
All right. Staff comments. All right, let's keep it rolling. Staff comments.
I've got about 13 things to go over.
We were doing so well.
Yeah, I know. The first thing we wanted to do was, we provided you with a copy of our 2024 Planning Board meeting agenda. As you know, the Planning Board meets on the fourth Thursday of every month, with the exception of November and December, when we get into the holiday season. We like to have those meetings on the third Thursday of the month to be able to accommodate Thanksgiving and the Christmas holiday. So we will need a motion and a second and a vote on the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion, properly second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Opposed have the same right. Carries. Okay, so that one is good.
Okay, next, we do have the, it's that time of year again. We have to have our nominations and vote for chair, vice chair, and secretary. And typically what happens is there's a discussion, some nominations, and somebody make a motion and a second, and then there'd be a vote for those three roles. And Mr. Barhu, as you know, this is your second consecutive year, and so we'll have to have a new member this year. So,
I nominate, I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
I nominate Mr. McLean for chair.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. We have to do them individually, or can we do them collectively?
Should be done.
Each one, each,
The vote, I think.
you mean for voting purposes?
yeah.
Each
Whichever.
one individual.
You can do individual. We can
Individual,
you
okay,
want to do
let's do individual. Anybody else
roll?
for chair? Okay,
Oh,
so we have a motion, we got a second for chair.
Oh, we had
Anybody else? Question?
Well, that makes it easy.
I didn't hear the.
All in favor, say aye.
Okay, no, I'm good.
I think it's a good nomination.
The nominee is Mr. McLean. He's been second. You had a question?
I just didn't hear the second.
Oh,
Mr. Robinson seconded the motion.
I'm over here.
Mr. Robbins snuck in there.
Mr. Robinson didn't speak into the microphone, which he hasn't done all night.
Oh, here we
You
go.
don't mess, you don't mess with the secretary, Mr.
There
Robbins.
you go, Mr. Robinson.
I second it.
All right.
No.
So, we have a motion, properly second. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, have the same right. Carries. Congratulations, sir.
Excellent. All right, as you know, Mr. McLean was the vice chair. We'll need a new vice chair now, so same process. Any discussion, motion, and a vote?
Vernon, would you like to do that? I'll nominate you.
Okay, who you nominate?
Vernon.
Okay.
Vernon.
I think it.
I'll
Think about it a little.
I'll gladly second that.
I second.
Okay, we got 2 seconds.
2 seconds. A third.
Second squared. How's that? Okay. Any other discussion? I may have a motion. Oh, it's already motion second. Motion second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. It carries. All right, congratulations.
Okay, and finally, we have the secretary position.
I will gladly nominate
Ms.
Ms.
Washington.
Washington. She is awesome. She is awesome at that job.
She's the queen of the house.
No one's gonna even come.
Second.
Queen of the
This will be
house.
the easiest of the 3 by far.
Yeah.
So it's been motion, properly second by all of us. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed have the same right. It carries. There you go.
All hail the queen.
Okay, couple more pieces of business. We have representatives from the planning board on the redevelopment boards, so we'll have to have nominations and a vote, motion and a vote for the representatives of those boards. Now, you would not be allowed to start serving in that role until the city commission has approved that slot. So we have the Midtown Redevelopment Board.
Mr. Tony Savans, I nominate you. You interested in that, Mr. Tony?
What's that?
The Midtown?
Who's doing Midtown now?
No, I do redevelopment, but I live in.
Yeah,
I'm in
he's
the
not
Midtown
in
zone.
Midtown.
Oh.
I'm in the Midtown zone now.
How?
Paul is my commissioner. When they,
But
Oh, when they changed it up, huh?
yeah, but I'm on the beachside redevelopment
Paul is your,
commissioner now.
that's not mid, well, excuse me.
That's not
Yeah,
me.
yours is Juanita now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh.
Why decline?
And that was
I think
Midtown.
mine's still Stacy, but I could be wrong.
And that was Midtown. Yeah,
You want to continue to Midtown?
Yeah,
sure.
Oh, okay.
Then I nominate Kathy Washington for Midtown.
yeah.
That's-
Second.
that's
I second.
interesting.
He's second.
Okay.
I heard it.
So, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. Washington is you.
Okay, we need a representative for the Downtown Belleau Road Redevelopment Board.
which I'll happily do again if somebody
Okay.
wants to nominate.
So moved.
Nominate you.
I nominate James.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay.
I think everybody said yes to that.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, have the same right. Carries. Mr. Newman, you it?
Okay, and finally, we need a representative for the Beachside Redevelopment Board.
I'd like to be that.
I nominate Vernon.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
All right.
Great.
Oh.
Aye.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
You confused me there.
No, I'm trying to before he changes his mind. Opposed, have the same right. Carries. Thank you.
Okay, and I have one more item for you. Arthur, can you come up here, please? Arthur has joined our team probably about 7 months ago, 8 months ago. He's a planner. He came over from the Public Works Department. He's been working with us. I haven't had an opportunity to introduce him yet to the planning board, but he's been doing a fantastic job. We really enjoy him. He's just a fun guy to be with, and just wanted to introduce you to Arthur Abrego, planner with the city.
Oh, welcome.
Good evening, planning board members. Arthur Abrego, the planning department, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to get reintroduced again. I delivered a planning board packet to Mr. Robinson, and he sicked his dog on me, so I just want to be familiar. I am Arthur Abrego with planning department.
Not to visit unannounced, Mr. Robinson.
I'm just kidding. It was his doorbell ring.
Technology.
I'm not as good as Melissa. She's very experienced. I served my 20 years in the military. I obtained my bachelor's degree while in the military. And that's kind of tough when you're not with family and you try to get your degree. So I'm originally from Texas. I said that before, San Antonio. You know, after retiring from the military, 20 years, you're a little lost, and you're traveling, doing some traveling. I finally found a home here in Daytona Beach, and you know, it's been really exciting to be part of the planning department and to serve my community. It's you know, all I want to do after serving my country. I'm a good-hearted guy. I just wanted to say, if I come up to your sidewalk or your driveway, I'm just Arthur, and please don't be alarmed. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And
You're welcome.
ladies and gentlemen, y'all asked some really tough questions for planning department. I definitely have to be on my game, and it's been a pleasure seeing you at the chair, sir.
Thank you.
You know, yeah, and my condolences I was here with you lost your mother, and I definitely understand that feeling. And congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Welcome. Well done. All right, board members' comments.
Well, unless anyone else does, Mr. Chairman, I do have a quick comment. Wanted to congratulate you on your 2 years of leadership of this board. I think we can all say that Pastor Barhu's done an excellent job leading us through the last 2 years. So we thought it would be appropriate to give you just a small token of our appreciation for the hard work that you've done. It says, in recognition of Tony Barhu, Chairman of the Planning Board of the City of Daytona Beach, in appreciation of your 2 years of outstanding service and dedication to our community, dated today, the 25th day of January, 2024. And I'm more than glad, sir, to give this to
switch
you.
seats?
And thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Is anybody taking a picture?
Oh.
Yeah, all right.
All right. You want me by the flag? Okay, there you go, by the flag.
Shall I be in?
Yeah, come on. Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, before you conclude.
Become the chair.
I wanted to thank Mr. Dennis for the extra days of delivering the packet. It really gave me a better opportunity to research and do a better job, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
The packages?
Yes.
I was surprised.
Yeah, I was.
I showed up at his house, he sent his dogs on me, is what he did.
Still shooting for that 10 days, though.
And we would try. Sometimes
better.
it's easier, sometimes it's more difficult. Our next month, we have a very heavy agenda, and we'll do everything we can to try to get it out early, but as I said, we would do what we could, and we'll try, so.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Again, we do want to say thank you to all of you, to all our board members, to citizens, especially to our staff and planning board members. We appreciate the wonderful job you do. Thank you so much for allowing us to serve and to be part of this great city. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be a board member sitting
you
back
will.
there. And,
You can run, but you can't hide, Mr. Chairman.
There you go. I'm here. But we do appreciate all of your hard work and effort. Have a wonderful month, and we'll see you. Meeting adjourned.
All right.
Barbara.
Good job, sir.